Welcome to the February 17th, 2022 Metrolinx board meeting. This is the public session that we're about to go in, chaired by our chair of the Metrolinx board, Don Wright, and led, of course, by our CEO, Phil Verster. I just wanted to say that my name is Anne-Marie Aikens, and I am the head of the media and public relations at Metrolinx. And so any reporters, normally when we're in person, they get to ask our board and our chair and our CEO questions. You can send the questions through me and we'll get answers for you. So that's still a commitment to you. We have a full agenda that we're going to go through, including some pretty incredible safety awards. I can't wait to hear about them. I hope you're all staying dry. There's lots of flooding out there and it's about to turn pretty icy. So I want to get the meeting going. We're going to start it off with a land acknowledgement, and I'm going to turn it over to our chair, Don Wright.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Since this is the first meeting for 2022, let me take this opportunity to say Happy New Year and thank you for joining us. As we get into this morning's meeting, let us begin with our land acknowledgement. Let us take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Indigenous peoples, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We are all treaty people. Many of us have come here as settlers and immigrants in this generation or generations past. Metrolinx declares its commitment to build meaningful relationships with Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the historic and continued impacts of colonization and the need to work towards meaningful reconciliation with the original caretakers of this land. We acknowledge that Metrolinx operates on lands covered by 20 treaties and that we have a responsibility to recognize and value the rights of Indigenous nations and peoples and conduct business in a manner that is built on the foundation of trust, respect, and collaboration. Thank you. I will now invite Steve Levine to lead us in our safety briefing this morning.
And thank you, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity to share a moment with you. Metrolinx talks about safety never stopping, and we take this really very close to heart. So I wanted to share an incident that happened this morning, or a not incident, and the way we manage it. So back in 2013, it's quite known, we had some flooding along the Richmond Hill line, and the train was unfortunately stuck. Since then, we've really taken on board the lessons we need to learn, and continuous safety monitoring is now in place. So this morning, the active sensors that we have along that river, and last night, because of the rainfall that we've been having, actually because of the frozen land around it, started triggering that the water was rising. So we have 24-hour-a-day monitoring of that section, and we've had maintainers out there monitoring the level of the water. And after the trains went through this morning, we understood that the water was rising to the point where we needed to monitor and stop services. So we are actively live and monitoring the rise of the water on there to ensure the safety of our customers and ensure that the service continues to run in the best way forward. So it's just, I wanted to share that moment with you today, Chair, because it's very live, and we do this every day. Our maintainers are out there all the time in whatever the weather, and today is weather that's changing rapidly. And so we have to adapt our methodologies and what we're doing to keep our customers and our staff safe.
Thank you, Stephen. So I'd also like to take this opportunity this morning to thank a director that's leaving us, Cleo Stravram, who has decided not to seek a reappointment to the Metrolinx board. Cleo has served on the Metrolinx board and various board committees since 2019. She's been a valued member, and we especially appreciate her insights and contributions on the Customer Experience Committee. Cleo, on behalf of the Metrolinx Board of Directors, thank you for your service and your invaluable contributions. The next thing I'd like to cover off is the correspondence that we've received since our last meeting, and it has been distributed to the board. A letter from Elizabeth Crow on behalf of the York Catholic District School Board dated December the 3rd regarding the proposed alignment of the Young North Subway extension. A letter from the Save Jimmy Simpson Community Group dated December 31st regarding the removal of vegetation between Eastern and Pape Avenues. Two letters from Save Tea Park dated December the 15th and December the 24th, respectively, regarding 4 Thorncliffe Park. A letter from Chris Williams on behalf of the Chester Hill Cambridge Thorncliffe Residents Association, received on February the 14th of this year regarding Metrolinx plans in the Don Valley. 5, a letter from Jessica Bell, MPP of University Rosedale, and endorsed by 220 individuals and organizations, received February the 16th regarding placement of a rail maintenance facility in the Don Valley. 6, a letter from Alexander Adams, received February 16th regarding the Heritage Road layover project on the Kitchener line. 7, a letter from Rosemary Powell, Executive Director of the Toronto Community Benefits Network, received February the 16th regarding community benefits. 8, a letter from Amin Bin Wali, CEO of Out of the Box Social Services, received February the 16th regarding community benefits. 9, a letter from David Ladov, received February the 16th regarding community benefits. 10, a letter from Community Action Planning Group, Jane Finch Keel, received February 16th regarding community benefits. 11, a letter from Diane N. Horning, Board Director of the Community Share Food Bank, received February 16th regarding community benefits. And lastly, a letter from Rick Chiarelli, Mount Dennis Echo Neighborhood Initiative, received February 17th regarding community benefits. Today, besides our usual quarterly reports, our agenda includes presentations on progress on our capital projects, updates on our customer campaign to welcome riders back, as well as progress being made with the tunnel boring machines. Before we get into these, I'll invite our CEO, Phil Verster, to give an update. Over to you, Phil.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. We are very optimistic that it appears that there'll be a return to a more normal way of life after the pandemic, and that reality is nearer now than what it's been before. And this is great for our communities, but also for our personal lives, for sure, but very much also for our business as a transit authority and a Crown agency. Despite the fact that we've had a pandemic for the last 2 years, we have had a huge program that have sped up and that we are relentlessly forging ahead with and delivering. More than that, over the last quarter, we again adjusted our services and also our return to the workplace plans. The dramatic increase in COVID-19 cases due to Omicron has significantly impacted our communities and our business, and our ridership was significantly affected. Now, the good news is that with infection rates declining, hospital ICU patient numbers falling, going up, the ridership is slowly picking up again, and we're going to see some of that today. We also kept our essential services running throughout this period without fail. And on behalf of the senior management team, I want to say a huge thank you to all our teams, our employees, and our people that have made this possible. But I also want to thank our customers, our riders, and our communities for their patience and for their continued commitment to our services. It is still early days, but we hope to get our ridership recovery back on track in the coming weeks. In a little while, Sharon is going to share a few thoughts, Chair, as you've indicated, and she'll talk a little bit about what are we doing to grow our ridership. Our capital projects continue to progress steadily and relentlessly. And Matt has so much that he's going to share today again. We welcome the arrival of tunnel boring machines on our 2 advanced tunnel sites at Scarborough and Eglinton Crossdown. And I can't wait for you to see Matt's pictures, photos, and hear what Matt has to say about all of this. Our community engagement with stakeholders and partners along the project corridors continues. We have at previous occasions discussed how we do our consultations, how our mandate is that Metrolinx must form an opinion on what the best transit solution is and then consult on how to implement it. This is distinctly different from processes where the communities are consulted on what the essential transit solution needs to be. Our mandate is to decide on the solution, on best transit practice, and then consult on how to implement. I'm happy to report that we are making great progress with this. At times we can agree with proposals coming from communities, at times we cannot. That limited flexibility is often due to the fact that huge effort goes into the transit design and the transit resolution that happens long before we get into the implementation phase and consult on how to implement. But in December, for example, we reached agreement with the Islamic Society of Toronto to convert the existing building in 20 Overley Boulevard in Thorncliffe Park into a new Islamic center with additional community benefits. This will be done as part of the Ontario Line project, given that we need to procure the existing mosque for building of a maintenance facility. But so we have done much work in the York region at Royal Orchard on the alignment of the Yonge North subway extension as well, with huge investment in community engagement on noise and vibration mitigations, on how the solution we are proposing for the alignment is the best economic and city development impact on Richmond Hill area, but also Markham and Vaughan. In Smalls Creek, we've worked closely with the community, and again, while we cannot agree to everything the community asked, we have consulted widely and we've proposed a number of things, including the development of a joint restoration plan, which we will pursue. And the work has started and our program continues. We also recently launched our podcast called Between the Lines. These cover several important issues, already including topics such as the progress on Eglinton Crosstown LRT, expanding our services to the Niagara region, and how we've transformed our transit safety division. It's all about transit for us. We are very, very predictable. We talk about transit, we breathe transit, we eat and we deliver transit. We continue to support the rollout of the province's vaccination efforts through the GoVax mobile clinics as well. These have been extremely popular. We started with 3 buses that are mobile vax units. We now have 8. And as of last week, over 42,000 doses of vaccine were administered, with 47 of these being a 3rd dose. This is a great achievement in a small way that we can support the broader province and our communities with this really, really important activity. Our role in the economic recovery of the region remains our top priority as we close out this fiscal year. We are very actively planning our 22-23 business year. I'm really optimistic for the future and confident in the ability of our teams to deliver our mandate. And when I look at our capital programs and investment, where we are going with our very strong line of focus on a network approach to transit, shorter trains, more frequent, giving people more choices to travel at more times of the day, that feels like for definite the right solution for the coming 20, 30 years of transit. Before I go into our next item of the agenda, I would like to officially welcome our new Chief Inclusion Officer, Karima Ashmani, to our team. Metrolinx is on a journey of learning insofar as equity, diversity, and inclusion goes. We are committed to deepen our understanding of equity, diversity, and inclusion, take action, and create meaningful change in our organization. There's a big agenda for us. It starts with small things, and at the start of this month, we officially kicked off our Black History Month celebrations by paying tribute to a legendary Salome Bay, Canada's First Lady of the Blues, with a Go bus wrap and art installation at the Bay Concourse, both of which were created by a local Toronto artist, Mark Stoddart. And I want to say a big thank you to our BEAM Employee Resource Group. BEAM stands for Black Employee Experience at Metrolinx. Our BEAM Resource Group led this. and it's just great to see the celebration of this year's Black History Month in this way. I also learned so much this year. I can say that. There's an expression that engineers like me use, and it's called the real McCoy. And I did a short video clip for our people. I learned in this month that Elijah McCoy, where this comes from, was a Black engineer. His parents were slaves that came to Canada on Underground Railway. Elijah worked in the railways. He had 47 patents named after him and accredited to him. And one of his patents were an oiler for steam locomotives. It was so good, everyone referred to that oiler as the real McCoy. What a fabulous, rich history of Black leaders, Black people contributing to our society. The unfortunate thing is, in the years when Elijah lived, Black people were not considered worthy of being engineers or fit to be engineers. And he was never acknowledged in the railways in Canada as an engineer, but he was sort of allocated to look after the steam locomotives, where he came up with his patents. So racism in action, unfortunately, but also the perseverance and the ability to succeed despite that is a phenomenal story for me. And I did a little video clip of that, and I just think we all learn like this. With Karima on board and working with our employee resource groups, we're very optimistic that we will continue to innovate with our inclusion strategy. Why are we doing this? It's because our workplaces has to be safe for everyone to be the very best. It has to be inclusive, give everyone in our communities an opportunity to participate in our organization, to have a sense of belonging in our organization, and where we are very, very intentional about creating safe workspaces. Next month, March 8th, I'm looking forward to recognizing International Women's Day under the theme Breaking the Bias. And this is all part of our journey. Mr. Chair, before I move on, Chair, I would also like to, as we always do, recognize a few people as we normally do. The first story is just a phenomenal one. Minnie Gupta is our director for systems for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT project. Now, Minnie is a fabulous leader in that team. But she was recently on a call with one of our consultants when she recognized a consultant that lost the ability to speak and had become unresponsive. From her location, Minnie was able to contact emergency services to get the necessary assistance to the person at his home. The consultant had suffered a stroke. He has since reached out to thank Minnie for acting so quickly and getting help to his house. You know, fabulous. And Minnie, congratulations. Thank you for using the first aid training that we've given you and that we all do, as all of us do the first aid, and that we've made part of who we are. And for living our charter promise to act quickly and to keep everyone around us safe. Your swift action saved the life. Fabulous. Thank you very much. I also want to thank and recognize James Watty, Matt Llewellyn, both from our media relations team, Andrea Azalin from customer care, Tyro Taban and Nesha Kadaran, who are team members of our network operations center. And they were very responsive. I saw this on one of our incidents where a young lady took the wrong train, was stranded in the middle of the night at Oriel. It was cold out there. She was very scared, talked to her parents. Her parents called in, spoke to James Watty, and even though James was not James' responsibility to do this, he jumped into motion, actually got a car out to Oriel and to pick up the young lady in question, make her safe, and an incredibly lovely letter from her parents thanking us for responding and for James to respond as he have done, for being calm and thoughtful, and for everyone as a team that's delivered this. Exceptional. Just stories like this is what makes us who we are. You brought to life our charter promises to help quickly and courteously. To everyone, on behalf of the Metrolinx family, I want to say a big thank you for going above and beyond to assist our customer. Now, for the great presentation by Matt, I hand over to Matt.
Thank you very much, Phil. So following on from Phil's comments around the work that's been happening within the capital projects group over the winter of 2021, we're just going to give some examples of the great progress that's being made out on site at the moment. I should say out on site, on the ground, but also behind the scenes with our pre-construction teams and our planning processes. So if we start with the first slide. So Rutherford Road Underpass, as it says there, part of a P3 project being delivered as part of the Go Expansion early works portfolio, being delivered with our partner Ellis Don, making great progress on the ground. This contract bundles together a lot of work elements, including a new second track and platform, refurbishment of the existing platform to accommodate more frequent barrier line service in both directions, a new station building, a much more accessible, light and spacious modern station building than the previous structure, and that has actually been open to the public for several months now. A parking structure for 12,000 new car parking spaces, 100 new secure bike parking spaces, and basically a much more accessible station for public pedestrian cyclists. And another element of the work is the work element on the screen here, which is an underpass taking road traffic underneath the railway and eliminating previously at-grade crossing, giving us better traffic flow through the area, better potential for the train service, and reducing safety risk. So a key milestone was achieved in January this year as the north side of the underpass was sufficiently finished to allow for westbound traffic to start using the road. And as you can see within this photo, there will be 3 lanes of traffic in both directions when we bring the eastbound traffic into use later this year as part of the next phase of the works. Our next project that we're going to have a quick look at is Huron-Ontario LRT. First note to make here is on the name, as many people have seen. When this line comes into use, it will have a new name, and that will be the Hazel McCallion line, recognising the long-time Mississauga mayor. That naming ceremony took place earlier this week. We will continue to call it the Huron-Ontario LRT for project purposes as we deliver, but that will be the new operational name for the rapid transit line when it comes into use. The picture you can see here on the screen is a very exciting piece of civil engineering work. This is a push box structure being constructed at Port Credit. The push box structure is a large hollow concrete box, basically, that will get pushed into place underneath our very busy Lakeshore West Go operating corridor to segregate the new rapid transit line from our current operating railway. A very well progressed piece of work. As you can see, the box here constructed and pre-push operations underway. The push itself will happen later this month, and that will allow us to then start construction of the Port Credit station. There's actually another push box structure as part of this work, a little bit north of here, where the rapid transit line meets the QEW, the Queen Elizabeth Expressway. So there will be another one of these happening in the near future. We're also, from a Ontario point of view, you can see out on the ground a huge amount of work, diverting utilities, widening the roadway, and making preparatory works ready for construction of the rapid transit in earnest, and also works very soon will commence on an elevated guideway past Square One. So a lot of very exciting work happening on Huron-Ontario LRT at the moment. If we look at the next slide, I spoke about exciting works happening behind the scenes. It's not always about huge civil engineering concrete boxes and things like that. It's also a lot of preparatory pre-construction effort goes into making sure these projects are successful. 2 very important documents that happened or were submitted Recently, the main environmental report for the Ontario line was published on February the 7th. So the report looks at the entire Ontario line footprint from Exhibition Station all the way to Ontario Science Centre, providing information on traffic, noise, vibration, trees, vegetation, and more. There will be virtual open houses taking place on the February 22nd, February the 24th, March the 1st and March the 3rd, where transit officials will be giving an overview of the Environmental Impact Assessment Report. The second document shown here is the Young North Subway Extension Environmental Project Report Addendum, published on the February the 10th, an addendum to the previously completed 2009 Environmental Project Report and a EPR addendum in 2014. Includes analysis on the existing environmental conditions, completing an environmental impact assessment, and this too will have open houses, virtual open houses taking place, and these events will be on the February the 17th, February 23rd, March the 2nd and March the 10th. So very, very important background work that's happening to make sure we keep driving the subway program forward as quickly as we have been. Next project is another project within the rapid transit portfolio, this time the Finch West LRT project. And the slide that you can show here really shows how far work has progressed on the Finch station element of the project and the portal near Highway 27, which became track ready, as we call it, late last year. And you can see the huge advancements in this space on this slide here. This is near the western end of the line, where the rapid transit line transitions below grade, travels under Highway 27, turns south, and runs to the final stop at Humber College. This year we will have reached substantial completion of maintenance and storage facility. We've laid 5 kilometres of track, 26 kilometres of storm sanitary and sewer pipes, and interestingly poured 28,000 cubic metres of concrete. So just a few statistics on the huge amount of work that's happening on Finch West Rapid Transit, and great strides being made on that project. Back within the Go Expansion portfolio, our Union Station Enhancement project, the picture that you can see here is the proposed new South Concourse, which it will obviously be a concourse excavated to the southern area of our existing concourses, with new wide platforms above, upgrades to the track through the eastern portion of the Union Station rail corridor. Union Station Enhancement Project is absolutely critical to delivery of the Go Expansion work and the work to upgrade the existing network. It sits right in the middle of everything that we're trying to do. Any delay here has a potential to drive through what we call the critical path of the Go Expansion works, and an impact to every area of what we do on the existing network upgrade. So there was a huge milestone at the end of January when we awarded our project alliance agreement to the On Track Alliance for the Union Station Enhancement Project implementation phase, and that project is now up and running and really making significant strides through the first part of this year. This is the first alliance in the Canadian public transport sector. It's a model used widely around the world for this type of project, but the first one that we've used as part of this type of project here in this jurisdiction. So very, very excited to see this one off the ground. It gives us a greater transparency, greater element of cooperative and collaborative decision making, and we're very excited to see this model start to take root here for us.
And Matt, that's probably a sign of things to come, isn't it? With progressive design build contracts and even alliances where that contract form is ideal for the risks we're dealing with. This is a shift for us significantly with complex transit projects, away from fixed price lump sum contracts towards this direction, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It segues very nicely into the next slide, actually, because Scarborough Subway Extension is another project where we're, sorry, if we go back one slide. Thank you. The Scarborough Subway Extension is another project where we really see the benefit of this more progressive and collaborative delivery model. Scarborough Subway Extension being delivered in two main contracts: an advanced tunnelling contract that's underway now and performing very well on the ground with tunnel boring machines delivered to site and being constructed. And Andrew Hope will talk a little bit more about that in a second. But after the advanced tunnel contract, we'll be looking for an SRS contract to construct the station and the rail systems, and that will be delivered under a progressive design build, which is a more collaborative form of contract, as Phil has just said, and one that we're looking to use widely where it makes sense for us within our huge portfolio. So in early February, Metrolinx issued the SRS request for proposals to 3 shortlisted team to invite them to bid on this contract. It has a lot in common with the Union Station Alliance model that we talked about. Our first step will be to select the right partner that we want to work with and work collaboratively through a development stage to align on a target price, agree on a price for delivery of the work, and then continue to collaborate through implementation to deliver the works themselves. So Scarborough already up and running, showing some great success with the advanced tunneling contract and some very rapid progress being made in terms of procurement using this new, more collaborative form of contract. And finally, onto Go Expansion early works again. This slide really represents the strides that are being taken within Go Expansion to move from early planning and procurement into implementation. The hatched area that you can see on the graph on the left-hand side demonstrates projects that are moving from planning and procurement into implementation over the last few months. So a huge amount of work actually making its way through our planning phase and start to hit the ground. As I said, for Go Expansion, we're starting to see some benefits being realised. Some of our earlier projects starting to come to completion. Kipling, Cooksville, Bramley, Bloomington, all of these projects, Rutherford as well, which we spoke about earlier. All of these projects starting to deliver benefits for our customers. New stations being opened at Agincourt. So huge amount of work actually being delivered, but the purpose of this slide really to demonstrate the amount of work that is moving from procurement and into delivery. So we're going to see a huge amount of more work actually on the ground in 2022. So very, very exciting period for us. Massive amount of work happening both behind the scenes and on the ground now.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There's certainly a lot of work going on, as you can see, and this is just part of what we're doing every day. So congratulations to you and your teams. Anybody, Robert, do you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Matt, for that presentation. And as the Chair mentioned, congratulations on all that was achieved in the last year alone. It is really quite stunning. One comment, one question. I really liked your explanation of the South Corridor. As I've been seeing on social media from Metrolinx, with the other 2 corridors being the York and Bay Street, when we do the South open concept, I think Ontarians and others that travel here for sporting events and entertainment, concerts and that will be really excited by, the open seamless concepts that will exist within Union Station, which is today quite a maze to access these things, and it'll be all open with retail, and I think that's going to be very, very exciting. My question is, with all this, investment, and really, which is really unprecedented under the leadership of this government, with all its funding partners, and both transit and transit infrastructure, I would say it's fair to say there's a consensus that communities that benefit from this infrastructure should also benefit by having the community benefits and supports derived locally. Like they should benefit locally from not only the infrastructure they're getting, but also the work that's being done. Can you speak to this? I think this is something that's illustrated in the correspondence that we received for this meeting and continually receive, and that we see in media reporting and so forth.
If I take that question somewhat, we are, and then Carla will add color to the examples and the things we are doing, and so would Matt. We are communicating widely to stakeholders and to communities what our community benefits and supports approach is. And there are 4 pillars on which it's based, and Carla and her team has put that together and communicating that out very widely. And one of those pillars are about policy type decisions that the provincial government will lead, and those would be about substantive enhancements to facilities in communities. And there are many examples of where those happen around our programs, our transit programs, and we're communicating this out to our different communities. Carla, can you pick up on the other 3 pillars and give a sense of how they fit together?
Thank you, Phil, and thank you, Robert, for your question here. In the other pieces of those 4 pillars is around really connecting with government programs around jobs and helping our contractors shop local, so that when we are working through our communities on the projects that we're delivering and the ultimate benefit of transit that is bringing forward, that we're helping to make those connections to the right agencies and supporting programs that are able to support that. And we want to continue to help make those connections. We also have public realm enhancements, with Matt and others could speak to in detail around our projects, around refinement of the design and how we really make sure that we are in essence, leaving the areas that we're coming into contact with better than when we found them. And then you'll see that in a lot of our park programs and some of the other initiatives that we've taken. We are also in receipt of those letters that you mentioned a little bit earlier, and there's more work to do here. There are details that we have to go through and around the process and really operationalizing the 4 pillars that Phil mentioned, and that we are going to be working together to find, constructive solutions in the areas that we can directly impact, but in other areas where we're making those connections to make those realized.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think, Matt, on the Ontario line, Matt, there was sort of initially community fears that 6 parks were going to be made smaller by our activities, while after you and your teams have done the construction, all of those 6 parks are bigger after you've done it because of the methods you've decided to use for construction. And one, it was that Gerard Carlo Parquet. I think that we're adding a property to it and increasing the size of it by a factor of 2 or 3 or something like that. Maybe you can remark on that.
Well, you covered it there. I mean, a huge amount of work happening with Andrew Hope, who will be speaking in a minute on the TBMs for subways, and his team and his technical team to work through the constructability solutions as well as the design solutions for the works that we're planning and the works we're delivering on the ground, to make sure that we are absolutely optimizing the space being utilized and absolutely preserving wherever possible the community benefits. So, that's a real focus from the teams to make sure that planning upfront, early planning and constructability review work is providing the benefit that we need.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we should move on. Andrew is going to talk about tunnel boring machines. We've seen lots of pictures of them, these massive machines that are digging our tunnels, and it's quite amazing we've had the opportunity to sit on one and be near one, and they are amazing machines. But Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm very happy to be here today to provide the board with an update on the great progress that we're making on our Scarborough Subway Extension Project and our Eglinton Crosstown West Extension Project, and in particular, as you mentioned, with the delivery and assembly of our tunnel boring machines that will build the tunnel. We'll very soon be building tunnels for both of those projects. So if we turn to the next slide, I thought what I'd do today is I'll provide you a bit of an overview of what a tunnel boring machine is, the progress that we've made over the past year in designing and constructing and shipping and assembling the tunnel boring machines, and a few kind of interesting facts about these machines and what they can do. So maybe just to start off with, what is a tunnel boring machine, or a TBM as we call it around here? Basically, a tunnel boring machine it's a large machine, and it's used to excavate the tunnels that will eventually be where the subways run when the projects are complete. But that's a kind of a simplification. A good way to think about it is they're basically like an underground tunnel factory. And there's a number of things that they do. Most obviously, they mine the soil and the dirt to create the path for the tunnel. But they also, there's quite an operation to remove all of that material from the tunnel back to the launch shaft site where it can be stored and eventually transported off-site to secure storage locations. It's also a manufacturing plant. It's transporting and building tunnel liners that will actually, concrete tunnel liners that are assembled as the machine travels down the length of the tunnel. And so those tunnel liners are brought into the tunnel boring machine where it is, where it's located at the given time. And those concrete segments of the tunnel liners are assembled and then pushed forward piece by piece as the tunnel is extended. The TBMs these are really the very specialized pieces of equipment. They're custom built for the particular project that they're going to be used on, both in terms of the size of the tunnel boring machine, but also just the way that they'll operate. And it requires a lot of upfront work to understand the soil conditions and the types of material that will be tunneled through during the tunneling operation. And that we did a lot of work on both of these projects over the past couple of years with extensive due diligence and testing, so we understand exactly the types of soils that will be tunneling through and that could be factored into the design of these machines. And just to give you a sense, this is quite an operation. It takes a long time to tunnel these tunnels. We on an average day, once these are in operation, we'll be tunneling about 10 to 15 meters a day would be the daily progress, operating sort of 24/7, so with two different shifts. And then on the right here, just to give you a preview, and I'll give you some more facts about each of these machines as we get a little further into the presentation, but at the top right, you can see the Scarborough subway tunnel boring machine, which is quite a large machine, about 11.9 meters in diameter. So it's actually the largest tunnel boring machine that we've used, my understanding, in Canadian history for a transit tunnel. So it's going to be a large single bore tunnel that'll accommodate both subway tracks. And then on the bottom there, you can see the Eglinton Crosstown West extension, one of the tunnel boring machines. There will actually be two. It's going to be a twin bored tunnel from Renforth to just west of Scarlett Road. And those machines have all been completed and assembled, and I'll take you through a bit of the journey on the next slide that they've undergone over the past few months. Next slide, please. So one thing we did on both of these projects to make sure we could get a really good jump start on getting these tunnel boring machines designed and assembled was we actually started the design process working with our proponents during the later stages of the procurement last year. And when we reached contract award on both Eglinton West and Scarborough back in May of last year, our contractors were able to very quickly move to getting these machines manufactured and assembled. And in both cases, they selected a manufacturer in Germany called Heron Connect, who have extensive experience building tunnel boring machines that have been used in projects all around the world. So they moved very quickly over the summer with the assembly process and the manufacturing process for all the parts that go together. And by October, all three tunnel boring machines, the one for Scarborough and the two for Eglinton West, had been assembled, manufactured, assembled, and had passed all the factory acceptance testing by early October. And then there was quite an operation to actually disassemble all of the machines into components that could then be shipped over to Canada. And by late October, early November, those components were loaded onto two different ships that were then spent November, the better part of November, crossing the Atlantic Ocean, sailed down the St. Lawrence Seaway, and then the Scarborough ship docked in Oshawa in December and began unloading the equipment. And the Eglinton Crosstown ship docked in Hamilton Harbor. And then throughout December and January, all of the parts were taken off the ships and shipped to the launch shaft sites to begin the reassembly process at both project launch sites. So just to give you a sense, they've gone on quite a journey from Schwanau, Germany, where they were assembled by Heron Connect, and then arriving here late last year and early this year. And I'll show you some pictures on the next slide of of this operation. So here you can see just a few images here. You can see the top left. You can see the Scarborough tunnel boring machine. You can see images of it being loaded onto the ship at the port in the Netherlands, where it was shipped in November. And then to the image on the top, in the center on the top, you can see that same ship arriving in Oshawa Harbor in December. Some images of some of the parts in the hold of the ship. This is on the right. This is the Eglinton Crosstown. These are the two cutter heads. So the piece at the very front of the tunnel boring machine that actually does the mining. That's after it arrived in Hamilton Harbor. On the bottom left, you can see that those cutter heads being taken off the ship and ready for transport to the construction site. And then just to give you some more recent images of what's happening today on the sites, and even these are a week or two old, we're getting even closer to having these assembled now. You can see in the center bottom picture the part of the main drive shaft being lowered into the Eglinton Crosstown West Extension launch shaft. And then on the bottom right, you can see the Scarborough tunnel boring machine being actually constructed. That's the main front of it there. That's only actually half of it. There's a second half that's about equal size that has now been assembled on top. So coming together very, very rapidly on site. Next slide, please.
So Andrew, can you take us to so just to help us with the agenda, can you take us sort of quickly through the remainder, please?
Absolutely, Phil. I'll go quickly here, but I wanted to give a few key facts about each of the tunnel boring machines. So I mentioned, we'll just do quick run through Scarborough on the left. So one tunnel boring machine, I mentioned it's about 11.9 meters in diameter, basically the largest tunnel boring machine that we've used for a transit project in Canada. We recently completed a public naming contest for all of these tunnel boring machines. The Scarborough one, we've got an interesting name. Diggy Scardust was voted the most popular. So for any David Bowie fans out there, you'll appreciate that, I'm sure. Both of the tunnel boring machines are about the length of a football field, 84 meters in the case of Scarborough, 110 meters for the two Eglinton tunnel boring machines. About 2,000 tons is the weight of the Scarborough one, 663 tons each for the Eglinton Crosstown tunnel boring machines. And I mentioned they were assembled in Germany by Heron Connect and overseen by our contractors, Strawbag in the case of Scarborough and West End Connectors for the Eglinton West project. So very quickly, I'll try and, next slide please, just to give you a sense of how the tunneling operation actually works. You can see a little video there on the right. Essentially, there's two phases to the tunneling operation that just repeats over and over again. There's a tunneling phase where the cutter head moves to extract the soil, mine the soil and extract it. The soil is then brought back through a screw conveyor onto a very, very long conveyor belt, which takes the material all the way back to the launch shaft site. And that conveyor belt's extended as the tunneling progresses. And then once the tunneling phase is complete, there's the concrete liner erection phase, where the actual tunnel, the concrete tunnel segments are brought in, put in place in a ring behind the tunnel boring machine cutter head and shield. And then there's these large hydraulic, cylinders and feet that push off that tunnel ring, the last tunnel ring that's been installed, to force the mining and the cutter head to go forward. And that process is repeated over and over again to actually construct the entire tunnel. So maybe that's the quick overview. I should mention one important factor here. You were talking about community benefits and some of the local suppliers and constructors that are involved in this process. The tunnel liners that are actually going to be used on both projects are all being manufactured by a company called CSI Forterra in Whitby. And they are now in the process of churning out the thousands of tunnel liner segments that will be used on both of these projects. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to wrap up here, this is an image. It's actually a couple of weeks old now, but this is an image of the Scarborough launch shaft site at McCowan and Shepherd. You can see the large launch shaft itself, which is the area that has the orange tarps at the top sort of center of the image here. It's about 26 meters deep, just wrapping up the actual excavation activities. And you can see various parts of the tunnel boring machine that have arrived and are in the process of being reassembled on site, including the cutter head in the bottom right and some other components. So it's coming together fairly quickly. Next steps for both, we should have the machines assembled and in the launch shafts by late March in the case of Eglinton and April for Scarborough, and then we'll be actually commencing the tunneling operations later this spring on both projects. So proceeding pretty much right on schedule, and actually in the case of Eglinton, just slightly ahead of schedule. So good progress on both projects. So maybe I'll stop there if there's any questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions anyone has? That was a very detailed summary and interesting to see everything. So thanks.
My pleasure.
Now let's we'll go on to our last item, which is an update on Let's Get Ready to Ride. I think Sharon's going to be doing this one.
Great. Thank you, Chair, and good morning. I'm very pleased to be here. I'll provide a brief update of our winter-spring sales and marketing activities. I'll also share some of the highlights of the Ready to Ride program so far, some successes across that program, and how that's actually informing the plans that we have for the rest of the year. So, we're on a, sorry, Vince, we can go to the next slide, please. So we're on the edge of a really optimistic time here. We're all looking forward to March 1st with the easing of most restrictions and returning to all those people, places, and experiences that we've missed. And throughout this pandemic, through the Ready to Ride program, our brands have provided very safe, very reliable, and very responsive products and service levels, meeting those demands that, changing demands of customers over time. And we've learned a lot. But I wanted to share kind of 3 really compelling insights that are informing our plans going forward. So first was really interesting. There was many net new customers that we attracted to the network. New riders, in fact, just in April alone, accounted for almost 43% of our active fare cards and 38% of our Presto boardings. That doesn't even include the number of net new riders that we assume are coming from our e-tickets channel. So attracting new segments, that's going to be a big focus for us through 22 and 23. Secondly, I mentioned e-tickets really quickly, but that channel just continues to deliver above and beyond our expectations. It was really bolstered this year with the introduction of very flexible weekend pass products. In fact, we sold almost 139,000 passes since we launched the Ready to Ride program. So it's really a very attractive offering for our riders. And we're seeing that growth over growth now start to recover, which is wonderful. Just today, I got an email just before this meeting, a 6% increase just this past week alone. So people are getting those tickets and getting ready to go. And then lastly, we've said it before and we'll say it again, because leisure travel just is recovering, rebounding much more quickly with many riders returning for those fun regional adventures. And we're anticipating a similar return. About 45% of our customers are saying they're going to use transit for those concerts, sporting and events that are all returning on March 1st to full capacity. So that's really exciting. And we have a program for that. So Vince, if I can go to the next slide, please. We have our Go Beyond program. It exceeded all of our media metrics and we're relaunching that. In fact, this week we'll be highlighting all the great places Go can take you for winter fun, all the tobogganing, all steps from our stations. So that program will launch this week. And then we have our spring program that we're actively developing right now to just hone in on that momentum. But a big focus for us this year, especially with events returning, and we know it's going to be the year of yes and going out to places that you've probably never been to before because you can. We really are focusing on partnering with events. We've confirmed 10 event partnerships already with another 20 in negotiation. We're thrilled to see the likes of Home Show, the CNE, Toronto Caribbean Festival returning in physical form, and Pride obviously as well. But I wanted to underscore, as part of our inclusive marketing actions, connecting with multicultural community events is going to be a big focus for us starting this year and into beyond. So we're looking forward to partnering with the Carasaga Festival and the Calza Day Parade, just to name a few, and really build those strong brand connections with those multicultural communities that we're so desperate to connect with. And you'll start to see our Go Ambassador team popping up all over the place. The very first one will be on March the 20th, which is the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I might be a little bit personally invested in that one, but that's very exciting. It's actually our first time participating in the parade and being a transit sponsor. So you can get your Sunday pass for $10 and come down and join us. Make sure you bundle up. I'm sure it won't be very warm. And then just in terms of the entire customer experience, like I just wanted to underscore we continue to explore and expand our retail offerings. Just 2 delicious options that are now available: Dave's Grill at Richmond Hill Go and Reef Kitchen Wendy's at Scarborough Go, just to name a couple of those. The next slide, please. So we had a little bit of a pandemic reprieve back in the fall, and that's when we launched the Up Express brand campaign. And it was really just exceeded our expectations again. And we were very, very proud of the performance of this. But it really was the multicultural extension of this campaign delivered well beyond what we expected, almost 12 million impressions for this campaign. And in addition, we saw that correlating spike in ridership, almost up to 30% of pre-COVID levels, which was really encouraging. So with the exciting news, with the ease of public health restrictions at the end of February, that's really going to remove that major barrier to airline travel that we're seeing with PCR testing. So we'll be reflighting this campaign into the spring. The next slide, please. So all signs point to, people, willing to get back, but feeling a little bit burned. Research that I've been reading is saying that, people are looking for products and services and experiences that really provide a sense of happiness, comfort, and relief. And so prioritizing those in real life experiences is definitely going to be something that we're focusing on. And the Presto Perks program is a great way for us to do that. We are renewing and exponentially growing this program. Our goal is to secure 30 Perks partners across the region. We're already well underway with 12 that we've secured just so far this year, including the Toronto Arrows, the Zoo, and the ROM. And we have an additional 15 already in negotiation. So we're really optimistic about this one. It's going to be great to deliver some additional value for those regional fun seekers, and not just in Toronto, across the region. So that's very exciting. And on the next slide. So you'll recall from November, we launched our fully multicultural Metrolinx It's Happening brand campaign, and that really brought to life those customer benefits of an integrated transit network. This campaign was incredibly successful for just the short time that we had it in market, and it exceeded all of our awareness and engagement goals, actually 4 times over. We were blown away by some of the results that we've recently seen. So later this winter and into early spring, we will be reflighting assets from this campaign and also introducing some new ads that will deliver even more transit progress news. So that's very exciting. And if we have time, we have just a short video to share some of the current work that the marketing and sales team has in market. Vincent, if I could kindly ask you to play that for me.
Always wear a face covering. In stations, on platforms, trains and buses. Don't wear it like this, or this. Wear it like this. Way to smile with your eyes, Go Bear. Go Transit. Safety never stops.
陳先生，呢個係登機最後召集，你乘搭嘅航班即將起飛。 冇錯，你用成幾個月時間為全家安排咁重要嘅旅程，可惜你冇安排好全家點樣由屋企去機場。或者只要25分鐘就可以由多倫多市中心到達皮爾遜機場。
Metrolinx نوفر إمكانات أكثر لأشخاص أكثر. ألا تصدقنا؟ صدق هذا. مزيد من وسائل النقل يعني مزيدا من الأشخاص الذين يتواصلون بشغفهم. رائع! إنه يعني انضمام عدد أكبر من الأجداد إلى عدد أكبر من النوادي، والتقاء عدد أكبر من الأشخاص بعدد أكبر من قنديل البحر. مواصلة.
Thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Sharon. Anybody have any questions of Sharon?
Just a quick comment, Chair. Sharon, thanks very much for that video and update on the work that Metrolinx is doing. And you know, you see our advertising everywhere, and I think we're doing a much better job of reaching out to community groups. And I know on our existing lines, be it the Upline and Go Transit, we're quite visible. Just wondering, with the Eglinton Crosstown coming on stream in the next 12 months, are we reaching out to that community in advance of going live? And can you share with us anything that you're doing there?
Well, there will be Metrolinx that's happening work that will support in advance of the line going live. But I'd open it or throw to David if he wants to talk to any of the on-the-ground community relations activities that are happening.
Yes, Michael, I can respond to that. Lots of community engagement, lots of collaboration with BIAs and businesses and with communities. So, yep, all part of a bigger campaign.
Excellent, Phil. As we all know, they put up with a lot over the last 8 to 10 years with all the construction, and I'm sure the community is looking forward to the line coming on stream. So well done on all accounts.
I think we all are as we cross Eglinton in our cars. So that brings us to the quarterly reports, which we supply for information only. That brings us to the end of our agenda for today. So I'll toss it back to Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Don. And thank you, everyone, for your interest and your willingness to sign on and listen to our board for this quarter. Our next quarterly meeting is June 30th, 2022. Our fingers crossed, hope to be in person, but we will let you know closer to the date. It's been very difficult to predict anything for the last 2 years, but that is our hope that it'll be in person this time. But again, to reporters, send me any questions that you might have, and I hope you stay safe and dry and warm in this inclement weather over the next couple of days, and thank you again.